Hi everyone, and welcome back. Today is Teaching Talk number 13, and I'm actually having some issues today with the live feed. I cannot get YouTube to load up. I don't know if there's a Wi-Fi connection issue, but I will, of course, have this video available for you so that you can check it out after the fact. So I do apologize for that. I obviously can't control the Wi-Fi issues. I wanted to just make like a little PSA. I have my trusty hand sanitizer here, and if you are, out and about, one of the best things we can do, obviously, to stay clean in this time of coronavirus is to pick up some hand sanitizer, to wash your hands carefully with warm water, soap for at least 30 seconds, and do all that kind of stuff that is important to protect ourselves. Even things like doors and touching desk surfaces, touching your cell phone. Your cell phone really is a conduit of bacteria, so it's just really important for us to stay clean in these times. And certainly one advantage of live casting and doing things virtually is that we don't have those kinds of issues. So today's teaching talk is focused on integrating guided pathways with classroom, with other faculty issues that we might have, faculty concerns. There are a few handouts, and maybe I'll come closer to the camera. Actually, better yet, I just moved the camera a little bit closer so you can see some of the stuff happening on the screen here. So two things I did want to mention are just information available on guided pathways. If you go to our college website, LTCC.edu, go to search and type in just the word guided, and you will get all the meta majors represented here. And there is a short video about them, and then we have all the meta majors listed here. So the sheets I have here are basically the same version of this, and when the college created the meta majors, there was a lot of collaboration across the college with our faculty, administration, classified staff, our marketing department, and it was a really lengthy process developing the meta majors. So you see them represented here. Basically, a meta major is a way of grouping like disciplines, similar or connected disciplines, in a way that gives a student an opportunity when they first enroll at the college of following a pathway and getting on a pathway more quickly than the old model, which is sort of the cafeteria model, where students would come to a college like ours, LTCC, get a catalog or a schedule of classes, and have all these choices and really no direction. And while we want students to explore, that's part of certainly the fun of why many of us enjoy education. I know for me, I started as a music major before I took an anthro class. Had I not taken an anthro class, I maybe wouldn't be where I am today, just in terms of what I'm teaching and my research and so forth. So that sense of exploration is still important, but we realize that students and parents don't have infinite money. Students don't have infinite time. If you're supporting a family, if you need to hold down one or more jobs and also go to school, you need some level of practicality in terms of being able to get through college in a reasonable amount of time, such that you're not incurring so much student debt and having to pay that off later, and maybe you don't have a job with a salary commensurate to your amount of student debt, which is always an issue. So the pathways, you can see, really is a way, or are a way, to get students to see early on possible avenues where they might pursue careers, where they might pursue various degrees and so forth. So we're just doing a little more grouping up front at the front end, and we're also guiding students a little bit more than we have in the past. So I think personally it's a good thing. So if you want to look at these handouts, just let me know. I did make some handouts for copies today. I also have this one here, which just groups all the disciplines. And what you could do is actually, this handout is the same as the website. So if you click on Explore Majors, that will take you to the list of all the majors. And you can see here, it has environmental technology, sustainability, GIS, geography, geology, liberal arts, natural sciences, and mathematics. So it's a way, again, of grouping like disciplines. You obviously wouldn't group English and math together. Very different, right? Both important, of course, in terms of the student's career and education. But it's a way of grouping things together. We're talking about in the future maybe having like a drop-down menu, so when you click on these, you would get even more information. You would get info related to jobs. And just as a plug, yet another plug here, I really recommend going to Tahoe Career Connect. It's a great site. It was created in partnership with our advance office just upstairs here at the college. They do wonderful work. And Tahoe Career Connect is going to give you that kind of nuance that is often very important in landing a job. So you can actually go in here and do a profile, you can explore careers, you can explore programs, and you can also go on here and as you're exploring a possible career, you can actually look at jobs. Like they'll have the real job data in here, so it's in real time pulling information from various databases and then giving that to potential employers. And I do apologize, we're having a real slow connectivity here today. It's, as I said, affected my live stream. But you can go here and click on any of these areas and it will have information about the careers, it will have information about the jobs, potential salary as you can see, and it tells you what kind of education that you need. So just a great site. And one of the things I mentioned in quite a few of my Guided Pathways Meta Majors videos is that it's really important, I think, up front that we express to students more about careers than maybe we've done in the past. Now, if you're teaching fire science for us or EMT, you probably talk about careers. But if you're teaching anthropology or English or math, also have that consideration to talk to your students about potential careers in the field, just because it's a great opportunity to stress some things up front that tell students what they might expect. Not that you have to force your students to really define what they're going to do during their first year on campus. And in fact, we've come up with a way with our mapping of curriculum and our mapping of offerings, and that's going to be expanded for our program with our meta majors. But one of the nice things about that is we can lay out, say, for any of these meta majors, if you're a first year, essentially this is our STEM pathway, what courses do you need to take in the beginning? And so we would lay out then suggested courses. There would be some choice, but there might be some level of prescription because we're trying to be more efficient as an institution and we don't like canceling classes. Our class cancellation rate has gone down. It used to be in the double digits, now it's in the low single digits. And so that's really great because if students cannot complete their degrees in a 2-year time frame, which is what an associate's degree should be, or a certificate could be shorter, of course, but typically we want to focus our completion efforts in terms of what students are doing, in terms of student needs. And if we don't have a schedule that makes sense, and if students cannot figure out when the classes are offered through their counselors, their academic counseling that happens just down the hall here, then really we're not guiding them along in the framework of meta majors and guided pathways. So that first or second year curriculum will maybe start off a little more general. So with a STEM program, you might have a few science classes, a math class, you might throw in an English, electives in the first year. And then as we get into the second year, as the student starts to decide, if they're first saying, I don't know what STEM I want to do, but I'm a STEM student, then when that starts, you could actually have those courses or curriculum more general. As they move along and as they, say, get interested in CIS or ETS or GIS, then the pathway becomes a little more specific, likely at the end of the first year and certainly into that first quarter of year 2. So that's really important to note with guided pathways is that we're being a little more prescriptive on the front end because we really do want students to complete, we want them to be successful and so forth. So that is an explanation of guided pathways and meta majors. If you have any more questions, let me know. Come by my office, B101A. I'd be very happy to sit down with you, talk through the whole idea of guided pathways and meta majors. There's also a committee, college-wide committee appointed through the Academic Senate that focuses on guided pathways, and they're involved in very specific details connected to this project. So if you have questions, you can also reach out to any of those people, and if you want to know who those people are, just let me know. As Academic Senate President, I could get you that list of faculty. So really neat to see just that we're moving in this direction with guided pathways, and if you get a chance, go to ltcc.edu, search by guided pathways, and have a look at the meta majors. Wanted to mention on my website, as usual, if you need any more information connected to one of these teaching talks, or you're wondering what is the next teaching talk coming up, just go to ltccteachingandlearning.com, one word, and it'll take you to this site. I did want to mention that in 1 week, we're rescheduling one of the talks because it's the honor roll. We encourage you, all of you, if you can make it, come to the honor roll. It's happening next Tuesday, which is March 10th, and that will be happening at 12 o'clock, so in the Student Center. So please come check it out. It's a really great opportunity to see our students and their accomplishments and celebrate them and so forth. I may likely have another talk that day related to a disability program we're piloting called Glean, and Kelly Griner is involved in that. So stay tuned. This could change, and anytime you want the most current schedule for any of these teaching talks, just go to the website, click on the More, or depending on your browser, it might already show it, but it'll be the Workshops tab. And then based on that, you could choose and click on any of the items and see what's coming up. And I have these all the way through the end of June. I may switch some of these or change them. If we do have an honor roll in June, I probably will have to cancel that one, but typically those are not announced until a couple weeks before. So I'm trying to adjust these as need be. So that is the information. If you ever want the handouts, and I want to mention one handout for today's talk, you could scroll all the way to the bottom of the page and just click on the number of the talk. So for today, I wanted to focus us on these 3 areas, and then we could have a conversation about each of these areas. So again, Guided Pathways is an effort that is really multifaceted, multi-pronged. It involves meta majors, it involves mapping of courses in a more efficient manner. It involves some level of prescription as opposed to total freedom early in a student's career. It also involves more of a focus on careers, as we've been talking about here. Another thing that involves is a deep connection to really linking the instruction side of the house. I hope you can see this camera, should be able to. So linkages of instruction and student services. So instruction typically refers to the classes that we teach, face-to-face, DE, ISP. Student services could be our counseling faculty, everything that happens here in what's called the One Stop at LTCC. It could also be student life. If you connect with Shauna, our brand new student life coordinator, say hello to her, welcome her to campus. The Promise program, Julie and Adam and others involved in that, all our ambassadors in this area of the college, just right outside E100 here. That, those services are all aspects of creating a safety net for students here at the college such that hopefully they don't fall off the path. And so the metaphor of Guided Pathways is really key just in terms of creating linkages of instruction and student services. And as an example of that, we do every year what's called the Coyote Kickoff early in fall. It's typically the Friday of Convocation Week. Be on the lookout for that. And we do that because we want to show students, give them opportunities to connect with their meta majors. We want to show students how they can get involved in a particular career path or one of the meta majors. We want to introduce them to real people who represent those careers, faculty, staff, administrators, and others on campus. So really having that linkage between instruction and student services is something we probably should have been doing even more. Now we're doing it. Now we're doing it because we realize that it's so key to student success. Another example of this is what's happening with the Promise program. I've been teaching that, the Promise class, 3 times now. Sarah Marquez is doing it this quarter here in winter. And we're stressing a lot of things that we didn't stress in the past. So things like financial literacy, teaching students about credit card debt, talking to students about note-taking skills and things of that nature. So really practical stuff that has a picture of a student that is, the old picture, I think, of how the old approach of thinking about a student was here, and this was essentially, they're part of this set, which was LTCC, the college, right? So this was the college. Nowadays, we're realizing we have to think of everything that encapsulates a student's life. And as an anthropologist, I would say a really good thing to do is what we call a holistic picture of any student, typical student. So think about a community, so issues of like housing, transportation, food insecurity, which we're addressing through our equity program and our pantry. And you can start to actually connect the dots then here to see that, like some of the needs, like housing is one. We have student housing. There's also housing available, of course, in the community at large. And I don't know if you've checked real estate prices or rents in South Lake Tahoe and the surrounding areas, North Shore. Very expensive, very expensive part of California and indeed the country to live. So we need to be concerned that students have all those opportunities of life, all the stuff that in the past was seen as outside of the student's life, but today need to be seen as part of their lives. Even, I was talking earlier about coronavirus and sanitizers. That is something that we're going to have to grapple with moving down the road if we have, massive outbreaks here in Lake Tahoe. Closures and maybe moving classes to an online modality or something like that as contingency is something we need to be aware of. So we always should have, in picturing our students' lives, the bigger world in mind such that we can meet their needs. I often say that in the past, society provided. The external forces provided for a lot of things that benefited our students and really every citizen and others as well. Nowadays, the movement is away from affordable housing nationwide, movement away from maybe jobs that are, well-paying jobs or at least living wage type of jobs. So now community colleges, universities out there are having to do almost like triage work for our students. And that's really part of Guided Pathways. It's not just the academic classroom stuff, the library stuff, the counseling stuff. It really is also about all the stuff that exists outside of a typical student's life. And so just really important to remember that. I wanted to say a couple other things, and then I'll talk about this handout in closing. So if you're interested in learning a little more about Guided Pathways and the efforts and meta majors, there's a couple videos on my YouTube site. You can access these. It's probably easier to get through my YouTube, but you can access it also off of my teaching and learning website. And somewhere at the bottom here, you'll find a icon for YouTube. It's right here. If you click on that, it'll take you directly to my YouTube site. It's actually taken to a specific video, but it will take you to my YouTube site, and then there you could actually click on this icon here, and it'll take you to all the various videos. So what I recommend is when you get to my YouTube, type in right here under search the word guided, and everything related to Guided Pathways will come up. And actually right now, not all of these are Guided Pathways. Looks like currently I have 150 videos for teaching. I didn't realize it was that many. So a lot of video there available for you. My last teaching talk was also related to Guided Pathways, integrating the classroom and student service in Guided Pathways. If you want to watch that, much more information than even to talk today about this. So I take you through a presentation I did with Allie and Brad, our two deans of instruction, down in Sacramento related to this topic. We did about 3 to 4 hours of workshopping about Guided Pathways and some other LTCC. So click on that video for sure. This is the short version, if you will. It's 10 minutes, talking about meta majors and Guided Pathways. And then the super duper long one talks about SEM, which is Strategic Enrollment Management, Guided Pathways, and also our Promise Program. And that comes in at a whopping 1 hour and 30 minutes. And I know some people say, my videos are long. I'm the kind of person that goes for more maximal information and gives you the opportunity to choose. You don't have to watch any of these videos if you don't want. Personally, I love watching long art films. I don't like short sound bites like TikTok, or even some of the TEDx videos are so short that you really can't get into the material. It'd be like having a novel that was 10 pages long. It's really not an opportunity for development of character. Likewise, if you're developing academic ideas or teaching ideas, in some senses I think you need a lot of information, and the viewer of the video, of the reader if you will, could pick what he or she wants to check out. So for example, if you go to the long video, I recommend you go to the time index at the bottom and then click on the items you like. Once you click on one of those items, it will take you to that point in the video. And so I try to time index all of my long videos just so you have an opportunity to really understand and focus on what you want to focus on. So check those out. Much more information there about Guided Pathways and meta majors. So just to wrap things up today, I won't keep this long because there is a lot of great information I think already online. I wanted to focus on just 3 issues. And I think first maybe is I'll talk about the second one. What are some events planned for your meta major? What are some future events you'd like to see? So as I mentioned earlier, with the Coyote Kickoff and other events through our Promise program, we're really trying to build out more of the student experience. Having experiences is one way of connecting students, not just to careers and great information connected to meta majors, but it's also a way of just really highlighting the student experience, of really focusing on that as a way of integrating it, as I said earlier, instruction and student service instruction and student services, connecting those together. So what we envision is for each meta major, faculty will come up with events. And we have, I believe, already 2 or 3 planned. There's one that I'm working on, as well as Dr. Dirk and Melanie Chu, and I believe Beth will be involved in it as well, Laura Salinas from Equity. And this is a project called Rowing to America, which is a set of student plays. And we'll be actually rehearsing, we're casting for those plays, we'll be rehearsing and then doing a performance. I believe it's in April, and I'll get you that date and information later. And also coming up in the future, the Arts, Languages, Humanities meta major will be doing an event related to Frida Kahlo. And I will just save all those announcements to our email and go to ltcc.edu and click on the calendar, because it has the most up-to-date information and locations, and I don't want to give you the wrong info. So in the future, if you have an idea for another meta major event, in other words, an event that would target one of the 5 meta majors and maybe focus on career or some enrichment related to those areas, send a message to me or others on the Guided Pathways team or any of your faculty chairs on campus, Senate officers, and we can certainly write that down and get that information out and possibly hold a meta major event related to one of your ideas out there. So keep that on your radar. Now, another question I thought we would look at today is, how has Guided Pathways impacted your work as a faculty member? And actually, this entire section was going to be the Q&A and the interactive stuff in here and also online. So since we had an issue with the live cast, I couldn't do that. But I did want to at least address this and say that, as I mentioned earlier, Guided Pathways really has impacted our work as faculty members at the college. And so it's just important to adapt as we can. One thing we can do is very easily, in say the first part of our work, is to stress in our first day of class or first week of class what the meta majors are, just to get that on the students' radar so that they're familiar with them, they hear about them, they're understanding what the meta majors mean, and it won't be a surprise to them. Down the road, of course, we might begin to say, well, you're interested in this meta major and I'm teaching a class in it. Can I tell you about some of the possible career paths or degrees and certificates? You might know we're now being funded on a different funding formula. It's no longer based on the number of students in our classes. It's based on a number of other factors, a series of 5 or so different factors, including student success, completion of degrees, completion of certificates, and the like. So we do have a responsibility as well to connect this to our funding formula, and the fact that it is important to keep in mind that we have to change our operations just a little bit in ways that will make us competitive. And our enrollments are great, and they're in fact up in winter quarter 13%, which is really rare across the state of California in terms of community colleges. But that doesn't mean we're necessarily making money like we would have in the past when we have those spikes. So kind of important to think about that connected to Guided Pathways. So what I would say to you is, as you're working as a faculty member, whether you're counseling, whether you're working in a library, whether you're working in a classroom, ISP, face-to-face, DE, think about the impact on your classroom, on your faculty work assignment, and has it made things easier for you? Has it made things challenging? What are some ways to integrate Guided Pathways in your workflow at the college? So something to think about. And then lastly, I would just ask us to consider, specific to teaching, how has Guided Pathways impacted our teaching? As I mentioned to you earlier, I think just letting students know about the meta majors is an important first step in the information giving to students here at the college. Another step down the road is maybe going to Tahoe Career Connect and having students understand a little bit more about careers, more on the front end of a class and a career at the college, a student career, then waiting till the end when they're graduating and then asking, what do I do with my degree in anthropology, as maybe I asked when I was majoring in anthropology as an undergraduate. So I think I'll end it there, just in terms of this focus on Guided Pathways. Again, as I mentioned, you can check out a couple of the other videos I have on YouTube, 3 or 4 different videos that will give you more insights about Guided Pathways, meta majors, and all the stuff connected to this new initiative here at LTCC. And we hope you'll have an opportunity to connect with Guided Pathways in some ways in your future career here at the college, if you're teaching for us, counseling for us, or working in our library. So please come back for additional teaching talks. I will try to work out Again, I don't control the Wi-Fi signal, but I hope that for our next teaching talk, you'll have an opportunity to participate live, because I do appreciate that kind of back and forth that we can have in the virtual setting. If you're here on campus, come to E100 on selected Tuesdays. Go to my website for that schedule, and we're always in here from 12 to 12:45. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back with additional videos here focusing on LTCC teaching and learning.